All right, today's video, we're gonna make another jig. And this time, for the belt sander. Now I've had this portable belt sander for well over a decade and a half, and to be honest, I rarely use it. It's heavy, it's clunky, and I just don't use a lot of rough lumber to begin with. So this sits in a drawer and rarely comes out. And I hate tools that you own and never use. So we're gonna change the way we use this belt sander with a jig. Now, the jig, what we're trying to accomplish today is turn the belt sander on its side. So we change the plane, and we're going to be able to sand against the belt this way. Now, I've seen a lot of guys build similar different setups, and they look phenomenal, albeit newer belt sanders. But hey, that's okay. We'll make this work. Now, we've got a couple things that we got to accomplish. The main focus, I want to be able to put a jig onto my workbench and clamp it down utilizing the T-track. Now, we did the same thing with the Craig jig, and this thing works awesome. I take it off the wall, I set it down, I clamp it down, less than 15 seconds, and we are operational. I'd like to use that same methodology to this. So I want to take the jig, set it down, clamp it down, and get to work. Now also, I want to be able to store it on the French cleat wall, just like we did the Craig jig. It's nice to take it off, set it down, and get to work. And if you guys have followed along, I've got a lot of scrap wood, probably too much, but who doesn't? So I've got a really good piece to start with. It's wider than my T-track. It's big enough for me to put my belt sander down, and it gives me lots of different room to clamp it down. But also, we've got to build a platform that we're going to use to hold our wood on against the belt. That's going to create a nice, perfect 90-degree angle. So if you've ever used a belt sander, you know when you turn it on, it's got some torque, kicks a little bit. It wants to kind of push forward. In this case, we know it's going to want to push back or kind of come up this way. So we're going to have to make sure we clamp it down nice and even. We're going to make sure we can get it off. We got to change the belts occasionally. We've got to be able to get to the power button as well as plug it in. And we're going to have to deal with dust collection. Now the dust collector on this, I believe used to be a bag. I have no idea where that's at. So we're going to have to be able to hook this up to a vacuum. I've got a couple different ideas on that, but we'll get to that later. So let's get started building a jig for a belt sander on its side to be more productive in the shop. Let's get started. All right, now I'll give you a top-down look at what we're looking at. We've got a whole bunch of 2x4s from the scrap bin that we're basically going to create a frame or surround around the belt sander. Now, these two will probably be stationary, and these two we're going to attach later after we get a good gauge of where we're at. Now also, I've got a whole bunch of 3/8" foam, and this is just kind of your standard lock-in-place foam, floor foam. We're going to cut it up to align all of this. A couple different reasons. One, to really help compress, hold it in place. But two, this thing's going to vibrate. So we know it's going to make a lot of noise. Maybe that's going to cut down on that. I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be a good case. Once we get all of that glued in place, we'll drill it all in from the back. We'll have the foam glued in, and then we're going to take a bigger piece, but this is just a demonstration. And maybe we'll do one piece that sets on top and holds it all in from the top. And that'll give it a smooth kind of finished look. Now, the belt sander, it has the power button right here, also with a lock. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it on and lock it in place, very similar to how routers work. And then whenever we turn it on, it'll start. So maybe eventually we'll put a switch on it, but for right now, that's how we're going to do it. That way when we put the top piece on, or the cover plate, we don't have to worry about turning it off and on. So the cover plate will go on, and then we're going to address dust collection. So now we're going to start gluing these two pieces in, and then we'll attach foam to it, and then we'll slowly start putting these in, and then we'll build our cover plate. Let's go. All right, now we've got the first corner or the main support done. We'll let that dry a good 45 minutes. We'll come back, we'll put the belt sander on, and then we'll start working on the support pieces. And this thing is taking shape. Let's go. All right, now we've got the first structure kind of glued into place. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over, and we are going to screw it down. That way we know it's nice and secure before we move on to any other steps. All right, we got our bottom support glued in. Now we can go ahead and flip this one over, drill it in from the bottom, and then we're pretty much ready to go ahead and put on the cover plate. But let's go ahead and get this drilled in first. All right, we found a scrap piece of 1/8 inch plywood. I think what we can go ahead and do now, we're gonna draw or outline what we need to cut out. Okay, so then it was set like that. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and head to the bandsaw. All right, now we've got our cover plate that'll just slide right on, and then we're gonna screw it into place. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill my holes and screw it down. And we're gonna go ahead and use these panhead or furniture screws. That's gonna prevent it from going further, just to hold it on. So we'll go ahead and drill our holes first. There she goes. Now she is locked in. Even theoretically, I could do it on top and have it as well. All right, things are slightly different now. I had to move the whole unit kind of forward because I completely forgot about getting the knobs on there for the T-track. So I've got a pilot hole drilled. we'll drill our 1/4-inch hole for our T-bolts. Okay, we're going to take a little bit of sandpaper, break that backside. Okay, now get our T-bolts in. Okay, turn around, make sure this thing can lock down, and then we can work on our platform. Okay, just enough. All right, let's check this bad boy out. Hey, look at that. All right. So that's gonna lock us down. Nice and neat. Whoa, yeah, thing's not moving at all. Now, it'll also have, we're gonna have the French cleat on this side, so it's actually gonna lock itself here and there. So now, we're looking really good. All right, to make our platform, I have a whole bunch of these melamine coated pieces of fiberboard. And what I'd like to do is I'm just gonna square it up. And then we're gonna get as close to the sander as possible. And that way I can sand whatever I need 90 to the sander, but there's a little bit of gap on the bottom. So you have to have some sort of raised platform to get it off. And now ideally, I'd like for this thing to go across the whole thing. I can get all of that with just kind of one of these. Okay, that'll give us our platform. Should be able to get 2 of these out of this. All right, I'm gonna head to the miter sled real quick, cut this out. Cut it out, square it up. And then we're gonna have to take it to the bandsaw. Yeah, let's go. All right, now we went ahead and cut our platform pieces. This is what we're gonna use on top so that we can kind of guide our wood around. Now, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go ahead and glue this on because I don't really wanna screw into this if I don't have to. So, let's go ahead and get some glue and glue it down. Look just like that. Now, what we can do, we can actually use our T-track to help us. I'll clamp the back side, and then we can go ahead and put some regular clamps on here to hold it in place where we want it. All right, now we had the French cleat installed and we added it to the French cleat wall. As you can see here, it sits nice and perfectly flush against the wall, but it also sits perfectly upside down, which means I could use it like this. And I know we're all guilty of using a belt sander to sharpen our shop pencils. That's probably what I'm gonna use this for in all reality. And then when I do need to use it, all I've gotta do, take it off the French cleat wall, align our 2 little T-bolts, slide it all the way until it's flush with the French cleat, lock it down, and this thing is ready to go. How cool is that? So from wall to here in less than 15 seconds, all I've got to do is take the cord off, plug it in, and we're ready to roll. Now, I did go ahead and add 2 of these supports just to wrap the cord around. I figure that's going to be better than just dangling the cord or trying to stick it back in here. That's going to make it nice and easy. But also, it had to be loose once I take the cover plate off if I need to change the belts, or if I ever do use it, like it's supposed to be used handheld, I'll have to take it off. So the cord works great. And the melamine works good. You saw me try it earlier with a piece of walnut. That works fantastic. And now we took a tool that we rarely ever use and added it to our arsenal. We've got a tool that we can use for any project, especially quick shaping projects. I'm pretty thrilled with this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this jig. It was pretty fun and easy to make. I can't wait to show you what we have coming up next. Until next time.